This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Reports out of China say that Tesla is quietly taking orders for the Highland, the most anticipated refresh to the Model 3 since it came out 4 years ago. Highland is Tesla's internal code name for the refresh car. Customers have to place a 1,000 yuan non-refundable deposit to order the car, which is about $137 at current exchange rates. Deliveries could start next month or in October. The base price is expected to be around 200,000 yuan, which is around $27,460. That's $12,780 cheaper than the current base model in the US, according to Tesla's website. Not only is Tesla said to have refreshed the styling, mainly to the front and rear fascias, the Highland should get the front and rear gigacastings to cut down on manufacturing costs. It's expected to get a 5-megapixel camera, which provides better resolution for its automated driving system. And it sounds like the turn signal and gear shift stalks will be eliminated altogether, and those functions will be integrated into the steering wheel instead. And the standard battery size will likely grow to 66 kilowatt hours, up from the current 60 kilowatt hours. That will give it a range of 610 kilometers or 379 miles on the Chinese CLTC driving cycle. The high-performance version gets a 72 kilowatt hour lithium manganese iron phosphate battery from CATL. And if it hits at that base price, it would be absolutely stunning. And it suggests that Tesla's so-called Model 2, the entry-level car that it will build in Mexico, could be priced under the $25,000 that Elon Musk has been talking about. Despite all kinds of negative news on the charging infrastructure and the price of EVs, more and more Americans are interested in getting an electric vehicle. J.D. Power and Ernst & Young found that nearly half of car buyers said they're considering buying a BEV in the next 2 years. J.D. Power is forecasting that BEV sales will hit 27% of all sales in the U.S. by 2026, up from about 7% in the first half of the year, according to Ward's Intelligence. Along those lines, Warren Brown, an independent analyst, predicts that sales of electric vehicles in the U.S. will hit 1.18 million units, with 7.6% market share for the full year. But while more people are interested in buying a BEV, most U.S. consumers are unaware of all the subsidies they can get. According to a recent Washington Post University of Maryland poll, 71% of respondents said they knew little or nothing about the Inflation Reduction Act or the incentives it provides for buying an EV or other climate-friendly products, even though it was signed into law a year ago. Many people know about the $7,500 tax credit, but there's other things they don't know about, like being able to get up to a $1,000 credit to install a Level 2 charger at their home. If advanced driver assistance systems, or ADAS, were made standard equipment across all cars, it could save hundreds of thousands of lives. According to a new study funded by the AAA with research performed by the University of North Carolina, ADAS technology like automatic emergency braking and other warnings could prevent up to 250,000 deaths over the next 30 years in the U.S. It could also prevent another 37 million crashes and 14 million injuries over the same period. But to get those benefits, more vehicles need to be equipped with the technology. Currently, only about a quarter of registered vehicles have automatic emergency braking or blind spot warnings. By 2027, that's expected to increase to about half of all vehicles. The AAA also says there's confusion with drivers on how to properly use ADAS technology, and more needs to be done to educate them how to use it in order to see those full benefits. Jaguar says it's converting to an all-electric brand in 2025, but the only electric car currently in its lineup won't be a part of that future. JLR's CEO says the I-Pace will be killed off about the same time that it launches its new generation of EVs in a few years. You know, we've always liked the styling of the I-Pace, but it's been out since 2018 with hardly any change, so now its range, charging speed, and overall performance are well behind other newer electric cars. And it seems like buyers are savvy to that information. Only a little more than 7,000 were sold globally last year, and it's on pace to sell less than 6,000 this year. So Jaguar is really going to have to step up its game with its new EVs. The first model is going to be a four-door GT with an estimated 700 kilometers or 430 miles of range, quote, power output more than any previous Jaguar, a 100,000-pound price tag, and it will be built on its own unique architecture called JEA. And that's probably another reason the I-Pace is going away. Its platform is made by Magna at a plant in Austria, which also supports the ICE-powered E-Pace. To reduce its dependence on China for EV batteries and materials, the U.S. is offering generous incentives to not only open new mining operations, but to also build batteries in the country. And Stellantis announced it's expanding its partnership with Controlled Thermal Resources, or CTR, to get lithium for batteries that will be used in its future EVs. CTR's Hell's Kitchen project in California is the largest lithium project of its type in the world and will extract up to 300,000 metric tons of the metal from geothermal brines every year. Stellantis is spending more than $100 million to get 65,000 metric tons of that lithium-grade battery material, which is up from a previous deal of 25,000 metric tons. And speaking of Stellantis, it's making it easier and cheaper to maintain your car. It's bringing its circular economy strategy called SustainEra to North America. You may have heard us talk about this program when it was launched in Europe in October of last year. At its core, it's all about stripping end-of-life vehicles of their parts that are still useful. They're then cleaned or remanufactured and sold for less than what a brand new part costs. Stellantis says it's on track to generate 2 billion euros of revenue a year this way by 2030. And by reusing old parts, it can also cut some emissions in half and save up to 80% of raw materials compared to what it would take to make a brand new version of that same part. Stellantis says it has a 2-year plan for North America right now, which includes expanding the current supplier footprint, adding to existing product lines, and developing new products like headlamps and tail lamps. And speaking of car parts, every year Mercedes highlights its efforts to keep counterfeit parts off of its cars. This includes things like wheels and brake pads, and last year Mercedes says it helped seize more than 1.6 million fake Mercedes parts. Not surprisingly, listings on social media and online platforms were up 23% compared to 2021. Mercedes says in many cases these parts are not made to its same high quality of standards and can pose safety risks for owners. Continental, the giant German supplier, has a contract with an American automaker for a brake-by-wire system that will debut in 2027. The CEO of Continental said the system will be electronically controlled but will still use hydraulics to operate the brakes. That kind of system uses electric pumps to activate the hydraulics, which allows braking at each wheel to be independently controlled. We think the most likely application is a high-performance model. The CEO says the next generation of brake-by-wires after this will completely eliminate the hydraulics, but he would not identify who the customer is. The company called One for Our Next Energy says it's close to getting LFP batteries to match the range and mass of NMC batteries, but at a cost that's 25% cheaper. And we've got Mujeeba Jazz, the CEO of the company, coming on Autoline After Hours this afternoon to tell us more about it. And you might remember that 3 years ago, One put its Gemini battery in a Tesla Model S and drove it 752 miles on a single charge. If you want to learn more about what this company is doing and where it's going in the future, join John and Gary as well as Nicole Wakelin at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. But that's the end of today's show. Thanks for tuning in.
AutoLine Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering, boost your game. Schaeffler, we pioneer motion. And by Teijin Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility.
At Schaeffler, we pioneer motion. Electrifying mobility. Manufacturing smarter. Reducing CO2 emissions. Making energy production clean. Schaeffler pioneers motion to advance how the world moves.
At Teijin Automotive Technologies, we combine world-class composite materials expertise with cutting-edge designs because, frankly, there are better ways to lightweight vehicles. So lighten up with Teijin Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility.
We want to know what drives your testing. OTA, connected car, diagnostics, remote testing. Intrepid Control Systems is here to help you work from anywhere. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.